71 départements français, dans 24 400 communes.
We are the top party in 71 departments in France.
Au Front National, de quadrupler son score.
This means the French National Front has multiplied by 4 its score from 2009, and we have advanced our number of seats in the European Parliament. So we have, I believe, demonstrated that we have a wonderful form of unity within our unit, and we are a mature party.
La presse, le système, nos adversaires ont cherché durant toute la campagne à nous diviser.
The press were constantly against us. They attempted their very best to divide us. They have done their utmost to create, to bring about divisions. We have demonstrated throughout that we can show a totally unified front, and this is the lesson that we have drawn from this day. On this stage, you can see unity. It is this unified approach that will allow us to... Those that fell into the trap of making...
Je le crois, en marge de l'histoire.
Those in the press who tried to criticize us, our victory has many consequences. The European Council had a crisis meeting. The oligarchy that is afraid of the people with a capital P, their declared objective is not to listen to what people say, but to break up the claims, the demands that have been expressed during Sunday's vote. I would stress that we have just had a meeting. We are absolutely unconcerned about the future existence of our group. Our group will come about. Our group has to be compiled before the first session of Parliament, which begins at the month of July. Our group will be proof that sovereign Europe, Europe that respects fraternity, can exist, must exist, and the European Union model, the totalitarian and technocrat model, is a thing of the past. I would now like to pass over to my colleague, Geert
Once again, congratulations
Wilders.
for historic victory in France. I can only be jealous of that. Ladies and gentlemen, the meeting that we had today is certainly an historic meeting. 5 parties from 5 different countries, from France, from Italy, from Austria, from Belgium, and from the Netherlands, came together in wishing to establish a group. And if I would sum up what the character of the group is, it is a group of parties that fight for sovereignty, for the nation state, for national sovereignty, and against the parties of the Europhiles that are so overrepresented in Europe today. But things will change tomorrow. And as Marine Le Pen very rightfully said, the good thing is that the whole of the demonization that happened both by politicians in our respective parties, but not to offend you, how could I? Also by the press, is ineffective, will not be effective, and will not stop us from forming a party, a group, not a party, a group in the European Parliament that once again fights for the national sovereignty. We will only become stronger. And of course, today we have 5 parties from 5 different countries, and we all know that we need 7. But I am very confident that maybe not tomorrow, but in the next few weeks, we will be able to establish 7 parties at least from 7 different countries. If you ask us which party are you talking to and when and where, of course, we will not tell you that. But I'm confident that it will happen because we believe we are writing history here. We are writing history in the European Union and we are writing history today. Thank you so much.
Geert Wilders there, speaking of this far-right union.
Ihr Kommen bin überwältigt von diesem mehr als großen und überwältigenden Erscheinen Ihrer Personen hier. Und ich freue mich, hier als Vertreter der Freiheitlichen Partei sitzen zu dürfen. Mein Name ist Harald Wilimski. Ich bin Generalsekretär meiner Gruppierung. Wir haben jetzt 20% bei der Europawahl erreicht und ziehen mit 4 Mandaten ein. Und jene Personen, die mit mir gemeinsam am Podium sitzen, sind für mich Personen, die
Anybody who is sitting up here on the podium with me
den pluralistischen
are people that express a pluralistic Europe, a pluralistic root, a continent of sovereign, self-determining nations.
Demokratie setzen wollen und weg von diesem zentralstaatlichen Kurs gehen wollen.
And this group wants to place more emphasis on direct action. So I'm very happy to be sitting with and next to Marine Le Pen. She is an iconic figure of the new Europe, of bringing sovereignty back to nation states. And I suspect she will pave the way for a lot of good that can happen across our continent. If we stick in line with the historic roots of our continent. We have a core group here made from 5 countries, and we will be looking to create a European Parliament group, and we want to prevent centralization and go back towards the sovereignty of our nation states. So anybody who is in favor of free and sovereign states we need to stop this over-federalization, which is so fashionable. This group, our group, is for people who recognize that our continent has grown on the basis of free sovereign nations and cultural pluralism. Those people will understand that what we are doing is something good. We want to deliver good. Our aims, from an Austrian point of view,
betrifft. Es kann nicht sein, dass in einer Situation, wo organisierte Kriminalität über unsere Länder hereinbricht, wir weiter Grenzen offen halten. Ganz kurz, ich möchte auch ein Aussetzen der sogenannten Arbeitnehmerfreizügigkeit haben, vor allem vor dem Hintergrund von 26 Millionen arbeitslosen Europäern.
We've got 26 million people unemployed in Europe, and immigration is a serious area which we have to concentrate. So the core group that's sitting here today is going to become much bigger, and we'll be able to roll our sleeves up and get on with the work.
Matteo Salvini, segretario Lega Nord, tornato 4º partito in Italia, per il momento, perché vogliamo crescere ancora. Orgoglioso di sedere a questo tavolo in questa alleanza per la speranza, contro tutto quello che è unico, la moneta unica, il pensiero unico, il cibo unico. Finalmente ci sarà un'opposizione a quei trattati internazionali che svelano il nostro futuro.
Is Matteo Salvini from the Italian Northern League?
Di qualcuno. Non uomini ma consumatori, secondo Bruxelles, invece noi diciamo
Northern League, one of the
non merce,
5
non mercato,
right-wing groups,
non
one of the 5 right-wing parties that have come together.
Che ci sia qualcuno
At the European Parliament, they're looking to form a bloc within the Parliament, which opens its doors on the 1st of July.
E se ne frega dei morti in Ucraina è un pessimo segno, e noi saremo qua anche a smontare l'ipocrisia dei minuti di silenzio che ogni tanto fanno a Strasburgo per pulirsi la coscienza quando c'è una convenienza economica, e quando invece non c'è la convenienza economica tutto può passare sopra le teste e sopra i corpi.
We've got some translation coming through now.
Siamo partiti in pochi, siamo in 5. all'apertura del Parlamento di Strasburgo l'obiettivo di essere l'unica, grande, coerente.
The goal is to be the only consistent, credible opposition to the democratic Christians and socialists by the time the first session.
Member of European Parliament, and I'll speak in Dutch to you. De uitslag van de Europese lijst voor mijn partij heeft ons in staat gesteld om hier aanwezig te zijn.
The Belgian
Fractievorming op een historisch moment, een moment
speaking Netherlands.
een crisis is en een existentiële crisis doormaakt.
In a time of deep crisis in Europe, Europe is going through an existential crisis at this moment in time. In concrete terms, I would refer to the way in which the Commission President is due to be appointed. The Commission is no more than the Secretariat of the Council, and that's all it should be. So we should be
in de aanloop naar deze verkiezingen samen aan gewerkt hebben. Dat is een stevige betonnen structuur waarop
we've been fighting for a change in the systems of the way Europe is run for more than a year in the way our election has been run. We feel that this is a historic opportunity for Vlaams Belang to participate and to be active in the European Parliament. We want to ensure that the sovereignty, the independence of the member states is not incompatible with a fraternal and peaceful coexistence. We want to make sure at the same time that we can repatriate the powers that belong to the nation states. This idea of a European superstate is something we want to wipe off the map, and I will work towards that aim. Thank you. Vlaams Belang there.
Je suis là. Madame Le Pen, une question pour vous, si vous le permettez. Je suis au fond de la salle. Bonjour.
They're going to the floor
un petit fact-checking peut-être pour commencer.
Just a bit of fact-checking, asks one journalist.
Des chefs d'État et de gouvernement était annoncé depuis.
We may be misinformed, but yesterday's dinner for heads of state was organised several months ago. It wasn't a knee-jerk reaction to the results of the Front National.
Donc, ma question.
But my point.
Vous n'avez pas encore de groupe.
My question is, you don't yet have a group.
Les difficultés que vous rencontrez à l'heure actuelle pour le former.
Et une fois que vous what difficulties are you encountering trying to form a group?
Pour bloquer l'Europe, ce que vous avez.
Once you form your group, what are you going to do to block Europe, as you said you would? Because in spite of everything, you are a minority in this Parliament, and it will be a majority that will still be able to move forward when it comes to adopting draft legislation. Well, first of all, I'm very happy to accept the first question, and I'm pleased it comes from a French journalist. That will enable you to say that, contrary to what's been said over the last 3 days in France, Mr. Wilders didn't come fourth in the elections, he came second, and I think that changes things quite significantly in terms of the analysis that's been made. I think French people need to know that, because the results in the Netherlands were misrepresented by French journalists. My second point. We are pretty certain that we will have a group. We have 5 nationalities of the 7 we need, but it's a solid basis for us to form a group. There are 38 members already. We've just held a meeting. There are several combinations possible, and we have many opportunities ahead of us, and that is cause for optimism. Now, obviously, we're not going to tell you all about what's going on at the moment, because negotiations are ongoing. We're not the only ones trying to build a group. and negotiations require discretion. However, I would like to say as well that the massive lie that was spread throughout the campaign by the Socialist Party, that you had to go out and vote to give them a majority, was a lie. Anyone who knows anything about the Parliament, knows how it works, would have known full well the EPP or the Socialists would never get a majority, that without a question. So what are we going to do? Well, we are going to force them to stand together to become allies. They are going to be forced to do that. That will make it clear for the electorate. They will be able to see that the EPP and the Socialists will be obliged to get together, to vote together, and to form one single party that they've been denouncing for so long, given that there are so many patriots and defenders of national sovereignty in the Parliament now. Obviously, it's not only about nationalists and defenders of sovereignty. There are other movements in the Parliament, other elected representatives who defend their own national sovereignties. So we will do our best to prevent any progress being made in the European Union. We will try and block any steps forward taken by the Parliament for the benefit of our people. We don't want to see any more federalism, and we're going to use our votes for that. We're going to be voting strongly against the EPP and the PS. There is some concern following the results that we achieved on Sunday. You can see that our adversaries are worried. They're worried about the plans that they had. They're worried about the fact that we can really cause them problems in what they want to do. Marine Le Pen responding there to a question from the floor.
Madame Le Pen, Alain Jean Robert, l'agence France Presse. Vous dites qu'il y a des
Another question coming from Agence France Presse. Could the French press not monopolise the question, said Marine Le Pen. I promise I'll only ask one question, said the journalist from AFP. You say there are strong combinations. Can you be a bit more specific on the type of groups that you are talking to? What about the Swedish Democrats?
Alors, il y a très peu de possibilités, en fait.
Are they moving towards Mr. Farage?
Pour l'instant, à ma connaissance, mais ils pourront peut-être vous répondre plus. Pour l'instant, n'ont absolument pas indiqué leur volonté de.
Well, I don't know if my colleagues want to comment on that, but I don't know about their desire to join Farage. They're not here at the top table. I explained to you.
Merci de votre information.
I explained to you there's a 3-week deadline. Thank you very much for that information. You can see a row of smiling faces here before you, which should make it patently obvious that there is no concern whatsoever or worry when it comes to the negotiations, which will be conducted in a way that requires a certain level of discretion. You remind me kindly of the 3-week deadline, and you'll see at the end of that deadline a group formed. A question from Mr. Salvini from Swiss television. Mr. Wilders mentioned a nationalist group. What kind of nationalism do you represent? I see myself as a person who chooses. In Italy, they want to hold a referendum. We will withdraw from this news conference. 5 far-right parties have come together to form a bloc for the new sessions which begin in July. They need 7 representatives from 7 different countries to form a voting bloc within the Parliament. There is a 3-week deadline for that group to be formed. Marine Le Pen says she's confident that a group will be formed by the time the new Parliament begins.